Hey everyone, welcome back to another out-of-spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Well, I know for a lot of you, we are pretty pressure washer heavy on the content right now, and that's because a lot of you are purchasing pressure washers. It's finally nice enough to get outside, start washing your vehicle, and I thought it was a great time to run through accessories that I use, how to dial in your pressure washer setup using gauges, amp meters, all of that stuff, as well as all of the accessories such as hoses, nozzles, different sorts of foam cannons, pressure washer guns, everything in between, and that's where we're going to be going through today. Now we're going to be talking about both different sides of the budget spectrum. If you have a budget like a Ryobi pressure washer or something like an Active 3.0 AR635 or somewhere in the middle, we'll have something for every single one of you. So welcome back to the channel. Let's jump into it. Thank you all for being here, and before we get into the video, just a couple notes up front. Absolutely none of this is a sponsored piece of content. These are all products I purchased with my own money and things that I suggest you probably get for your pressure washer. Now we're going to be talking about both different price points, whether you have Ryobi price point, Active price point, somewhere in the middle. Try and give recommendations at all different levels of this, and things that you should definitely get and things that you could probably be okay with for a little while before you might need to upgrade. Now I will leave all of these products linked in the description below, and I will also be chapterizing out this video so you guys can skip over the stuff you already know or don't care about, skip directly to the stuff you do want recommendations on. All right, so let's start off here going with always my first recommendation for upgrading your pressure washer, no matter whether it's cheap or very expensive, that is using quick disconnects. Now, in general, you're gonna see a couple of different materials out there for quick disconnects. So you're gonna see brass, sometimes you'll see nickel-plated brass, and stainless steel. Stainless steel is definitely the best, but it's also the most expensive. Now, inherently, I don't think brass is a horrible material for this. I would prefer to see you guys use brass than every single time you set up your pressure washer, have to twist these on. Just makes your life so much easier, just being able to boom, quick disconnect that, quick disconnect it off, and it also provides a lot less wear and tear on your actual unit here, on your actual hose, everything you're setting up. Now, in general, I think brass gets a little bit over talked about in pressure washers for being horrible, when in fact, I don't actually think it's terrible, but there are some issues with it. So as you can see over here on the Active 3.0, we have a fully brass head on this. You will hear a lot of people talk about the corrosion that you do get with brass, and yes, that is definitely possible over time. It's definitely worse than stainless steel, but in general, you'll see pressure washers like this with fully brass heads, even running DI water through it, which is actually worse on brass, and they work absolutely fine. Where I see the biggest issue is when you are putting things on and off constantly, because brass is a very, very soft material. So even on a quick disconnect like this, every single time you're putting this in and out, you are actually wearing out this material. Typically stuff like this, especially if you're using it frequently, quick disconnect very often, or twisting these things on often, you're gonna tear these things up. Typically, I'd say it's about once to maybe 2 seasons, you're gonna have to replace these. So I always recommend spending the money on stainless steel ones. That is my first absolute upgrade. Now, a couple of different ones you're going to have here. So we've got our water inlet hose, if this is going to be something you're setting up every single time, or whether you have a wall mounted pressure washer, always recommend getting all of these quick disconnects. So you're going to have your 3/4 inch garden hose thread on here. Typically we're going to have the male side here on the pressure washer unit. You'll have a female quick disconnect on this side. Then your water spigot, likely you're going to have a female receptacle into a male receptacle as well. So typically these normally come in packs. I'll leave it linked in the description, but that is what I recommend for water inlet. Now for water outlet, typically on most pressure washers, we have an M22 14 millimeter. Sometimes you'll see a 15 millimeter, 99% of the time at this point now, they're actually going to be a 14 millimeter. So a couple of different things you can do here. You can get a quick disconnect just like this that is going to screw onto the unit there, and then your actual pressure washer hose will go directly into there. Now a couple of quick notes with this, because some hoses are different. Some will have a 3/8 male fitting on one side and 3/8 female on the other side. You need to ensure this is correct when it comes to your pressure washer as well as your gun. So you can see my gun over there has a 3/8 male quick disconnect, which is going to utilize this side. So of course I can't use a male on this particular side to get all of this hooked up. So do take that into consideration based on what type of hose you are actually purchasing. A lot of the times these are going to come with your quick disconnects, so make sure those are all correct. So a couple of recommendations now when it comes to hoses. So in general here, we're going to be talking about our pressure out hose. So there's a few different options here, and I want to make sure you guys understand these. So for something like the Ryobi 1.8 over here, I would recommend a lot of people get something very, very simple like this. This is a 1/4 inch Uberflex hose, and this is great because it's very, very nice and light. This is something, especially a unit like this, you're not going to see a ton of people wall mount these. Some will, but this is something that is very easy to roll out. It's very easy in terms of kinkability here. So this is not going to kink on you. This is a very high quality hose, very, very low cost here. Now, these unfortunately will not come with your quick disconnects here. So you will need to get those. I'll include those in the link in the description here so you can hook these straight up. You can also twist these on, but again, you're going to want that M22 14mm fitting to a 3/8 fitting, whether it's female or male here. But this is a great starter hose. The only drawback with a hose like this is some pressure washers require a steel braided hose, of which this is not. Now, if you do need a 1/4 inch hose that you want that steel braiding in general, I personally prefer a 3/8 hose. You might prefer a 1/4 inch because it's a little bit lighter. I've already done tests on it. It does not affect your PSI or flow on your pressure washer. So if you like the 1/4 inch based on the size, I would recommend the McKillen's hose. But I think for in general, a lot of people getting the more entry-level pressure washers, this is actually the way to go. If you want something a little bit more in the middle, we have something like the active hose here. So this is actually a 5/16. All of this comes with all your stainless steel quick disconnects on it. It's great with this hose as well. It actually comes with your M22 14mm fitting made directly to go on your pressure washer, pretty much set up ready to go. My only drawback with this particular hose, but why I actually like this hose, is it's a little bit firmer on the outside. Now you still have great flexibility in this for sure. It's not going to kink on you, fully steel braided, so it works with the Active 2.0, 2.3, 3.0, even things like the AR635 up here. But being that the skin on the surface is a little bit rougher, this is actually going to be great if you're washing at home, on concrete, on asphalt, things like that. This hose isn't going to get quite as torn up as my actual recommendation. Now here at the shop, I actually use a smooth Cobra Jet 3/8 hose, and this is always my preference. I think this hose is one of the best ones out there, but again, not so great for working on concrete. That thing is going to scuff up. Why I really like that hose, if you're dragging it out, you do accidentally hit a bumper, something like that on your vehicle with it, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to scuff the heck out of it, something like the active hose would do. But in general, those are some pretty good general hoses. Now again, the 3/8 hose is going to be a little bit heavier. I really recommend these for more indoor use in your garage space, in a shop setting, or something that you're actually going to be mounting on a wall-mounted pressure washer reel versus something like the Uberflex over here. Again, I think that is more aimed towards the folks that are setting it up, tearing it down every single time. Now, for a water inlet hose, this is actually a FlexZilla color hose. So this is in a nice gray color instead of the neon green, of which you might like for your Ryobi. You can get these in all different types of sizes. Again, your 3/4 inch garden hose thread, you can get all your stainless steel quick disconnects on these. These are phenomenal hoses. Number one, because they're super, super light here. They're very high quality. You can step on these things. They're not going to split, and much prefer these over a lot of other garden hoses out there. All right, guys, the next important upgrade for our pressure washer setup is, of course, a nice foam cannon. Now, there are so many different foam cannons out there, some claiming they have better foam than others. What I see traditionally is, especially on lower end units like the Ryobis, it actually matters less what type of foam cannon you're using versus things like the Active 3.0, the AR635, the super high flow pressure washers. You actually do start to see a big difference in the types of foam cannons you're using. Now in general, I have two recommendations here for you guys. I have an overall general recommendation here of, I believe the Armor Detail Supply Drift foam cannons is actually one of the best out here. So you have a fully stainless steel quick disconnect on the back here. You have nickel plated brass full head on this, so it's going to have that great corrosion resistance. And importantly for me here, this is a quick disconnect bottle, which is really, really nice to have. The overall build of this thing is actually really, really phenomenal. Love the bottle on this. It doesn't wobble. It's got a great whole feeling to it. And of course, you need to make sure you're optimizing your orifice inside of here. Now, this is a very important topic to understand, so I'll actually put this in here. Something like the Active 3.0, the AR635, wants you to have somewhere around a 1.65 to a 1.8 millimeter foam cannon orifice. Typically, when you purchase these things, they're going to come with a 1.25. That's going to be more ideal for something like the Ryobi. Sometimes you can get away with going down to a 1.1. That's going to change your pressure, change your flow overall. In general, what we want to see with foam cannons is actually higher pressure so that we're getting good aeration of our foam. Now, and very important tools to have over here to actually figure this out for your machine. Normally, they'll come optimized, but you can get something like this, which is an amp meter. So you plug this into the wall. This is going to make sure you are keeping your unit under the actual specs. And of course, this comes down to the actual pressure washer tips you use, but really importantly for our foam cannons, to make sure you can crank this thing down enough, but not overamping your unit here. So it's also important to have as well is a pressure gauge. This is an inline 3/8 quick disconnect, so it can go right in between your actual hose and your gun. This will help you kind of figure everything out. So in general, what you're going to see here is you want to be under 15 amps on a machine like this, under 20 amps on a machine like this. Now, importantly, if you are using something like a 3.0, 635, trying to measure the current draw, you're gonna need a winky face adapter here to actually plug into your actual amp meter. So really important to understand all of this. I don't want to see you guys really crank down your foam cannons and start blowing up machines prematurely because you're not doing this research. Yes, it's expensive for a one-time use, but you can always go online, do some research. If you like to play around like I do, highly would recommend getting these. So overall, again, I think the Armor Drift foam cannon, one of the best out there. Now for high flow machines, what I've been finding is the Griot's Boss foam cannon is actually one of the best out here. Now I've been using an MJJC 1.65 millimeter orifice in both the 3.0 and the 635 up there. It says also a great foam cannon for the lower end machines. It's a little bit higher build quality than the ADS. We have a fully stainless steel head on this and really high quality bottles here. The biggest drawback with this is a twist off head, but again, very, very high quality here and just a really, really impressive unit. But I think this is over double the price of the ADS foam cannon. The other great thing about this, you can actually get bottles for these. You can get caps for these as well. So again, I think this is a great starting place. And for most of you out there, you're not going to see a benefit going to this. Probably stick with the ADS Drift. Now, another important thing, of course, to have with our foam cannon is a good, high quality pH neutral shampoo. Now, in general, there are a ton out there and there's some great options out there. What I've found has become quickly one of my favorites is DIY Detail Incredible Suds Type 2. So they've done quite a bit of work on this. This is a heavily concentrated car shampoo. Now, I will tell you guys up front here, when you look at the price of this per gallon, it's an absurd amount of money. It's very, very expensive. The great thing about this though is you are using very little snow foam in your actual foam cannon. Now for over here on the big boy units, around 2 to 3 ounces in a foam cannon. Over here, you're gonna get by with around an ounce in it, sometimes an ounce and a half in the middle if you have like a 2.3 GPM machine, something like that. But this stuff has great foamability on it, great cleaning agents in it, and is still very slick, and I personally think actually smells pretty good. Now here is where we move into a very highly subjective area, and that is talking about our pressure washer gun. Now, if you purchase something like the Ryobi over here, the 1.8, it actually comes with a pretty decent gun. I wouldn't recommend you actually go out there and immediately purchase something different, But if you are wanting to, this has always been my preferred. This is the MTM SGS 35. Now there's a lot of reasons I actually really love this pressure washer gun. Number one, it's the actual angle of this. So if you see on this, this is more of a 90-degree gun versus a lot of the other versions out there. Something like the SGS 28 sits at more of an angle, which means instead of my hand being like this, I've got to crane it up so you can get some more wrist strain on that. It's a little bit harder to hold in general. It's just my preference to have a gun like this. This particular one, the Aqualine version, comes with all stainless steel quick disconnects on it, including your full stainless steel swivel at the bottom of this with your 3/8 quick disconnect male fitting that's going to go into your hose. Again, I personally prefer this over something like this. This is actually the new active gun. It's actually a really, really nice gun, very nice and light. But as you can see there, I'm craning my wrist down to get this at level with the car. I personally just don't prefer that, especially myself washing cars for a long period of time. This is the gun I actually prefer. Now they also make this in just a non-Aqualine version with brass fittings on it. Again, I tell you to spend a little bit more money on this. This to me has just been the perfect pressure washer gun. Super high quality plastics on all the outside of this. These things last forever and I've been absolutely blown away with these. So this is my recommendation. Yes, you can get some cheaper ones out there. They all essentially work the same, but really, really like this one because of all the benefits. I quickly want to talk here about pressure washer tips because I don't think a lot of people understand this. I've had quite a few friends recently just get new pressure washers and they're like, hey, I'm confused on the pressure washer tips, so can you explain it? So this is a good time to talk about it. Now, typically when you get a brand new unit, 9 times out of 10, they're actually going to give you tips to use with it. Now, it's super important to either use these or understand what the heck you're doing. For example here, the Active 3.0, these are the actual tips that come with it, a 40-degree white, 25-degree green, a 15-degree yellow, and a 0-degree red. Now, what you'll actually see if you pull these off and look at the actual stamping, this says 40-0-63 on it. So this is a 40-degree tip with a 6.3 orifice. Why is that important? Well, because if I come over here to something like the Ryobi that has these shrouded tips on it, if I actually read the side of this, this current one is a 25-0-34. So this is a 3.4 orifice. If you were to use this with this pressure washer over here, you're going to probably blow up your circuit breaker, or you're just going to trip the breaker. You're going to overamp the machine. You could kill micro switches. The machine is not going to be happy. So these orifices play into our pressure and our actual flow. Now, typically what they come with, they are mostly optimized, not all the time. That's where you can get into, again, playing with our little friendly tools over here, our amp meter, as well as our PSI gauge here. So something like the Active 3.0 that comes with that 6.3, you potentially might want to change it to a 6.5, a 7.0, or a 6.0. Now, in general, if I was going to go from a 6.3 down to a 6.0, that's going to increase our pressure, but drop our flow. Vice versa, if we go from a 6.3 to a 7.0, that's going to decrease our pressure, increase our flow. Very important you understand this. So let's say, for example, you're using this, you lose one of these tips. You cannot just go onto Amazon and click the first one that you see there because it's going to not be properly sized here. Really important to understand this. So a couple of other options you can have when it comes to these 1/4-inch quick disconnects. Other options are something like a turbo nozzle. Now, before you freak out, these are incredible for cleaning up suspension, especially for cleaning up carpeted fender liners. Now, again, going back to the orifice size here, you need to ensure these are properly sized for your unit. So this particular one is actually sized for that AR635. This is a 7.0 orifice. For something like the Ryobi over here, I'd either want a 3.5 or a 4.0. You need to figure all that out. So you can do a little research again to try and figure out what's what. Use your stock tip sizing. It's very important to understand that. Now you could also upgrade to something like this. This is an MTM quick disconnect with a kind of silicone shroud on this. This is nice. I don't think it's necessarily super important. It's kind of a nice to have. I personally don't really use these all the time, but if you do want to upgrade something like this, it's great for cleaning out fender liners as well. you know, if you do tap the car accidentally, this is going to be a hell of a lot safer than those plastic tips, or potentially even metal tips on there that are going to scratch up your paint. Now, importantly here, you need to understand your orifice sizing as well. So these will come with all sorts of different orifice sizes, and you can actually change them. So for example here, these 1/4 inch plugs that actually go in this particular one, a little bit harder to see, says 25065. So this is a 25-degree 6.5 orifice. This one that looks identical to it, except a smaller hole on this is a 25020. So this is a 25-degree tip, but with a 2.0 orifice. Really important to understand all of that. Now, the last little quick disconnect I would suggest you get, this is a rain shower head nozzle, and honestly, I thought this was a complete gimmick. These things are flipping awesome. You can use these for DI water, especially if you're using them on super high flow pressure washers with something like a CR Spotless that maxes out at 2.5 gallons per minute. This is going to work for that. Or you can also use this in areas like door jambs. So after you've cleaned them, to be able to rinse them without super high flow pressure, spraying water everywhere, these things are freaking amazing for that. So now that we understand accessories for pressure washer tips, I want to move over here into something like a surface cleaner. Now, one of my friends, I just got him set up with a whole pressure washer setup, and he told me, hey, I purchased a surface cleaner. Can I use that with my Active 2.3? And I said, well, we got to check the orifice size. So for example, I actually purchased this one here for the shop. This is a really high quality, fully stainless steel one. I believe this is a 14-inch wide one. Comes with a little bit of a wand on it, so you can use it with your stubby nose pressure washer guns. Now, on the bottom of this, you can actually see that you have 2 nozzles on there. Now, when this actually was unboxed here, this came with 2 1.3 orifices, which means overall, this is a 2.6 orifice. So if you're using something like this with a Active 3.0, we need to get around that 6 to 7 orifice size in general. Now, what you do with these is you essentially double it. So you could use 2 3.0s potentially, as long as it stays under your current draw, or you might even need to go up to a 3.5, 2 of those tips. Now these are the same exact little nozzle tips that you can use with the MTM fittings here. So you need to make sure this is optimized. This, again, just like your nozzles here, you actually turn this on with something like an AR635, you're going to probably pop the circuit breaker on that, you're going to damage the unit, you're going to overamp the machine, all of that stuff. Really important to understand that. That also plays in to these. This is an undercarriage washer. This is actually a really great one that I got on, I believe on Amazon. Of course, this will be linked in the description below. As you can see, we have 4 tips on here. What does that mean? We need to make sure these are optimized for our actual machine. Now, this is where things get complicated, especially on these high flow units. Something like this over here, actually pretty easy to get this optimized, because you're just going to probably use the stock ones that come with it. They're going to be like around a 1.0, a 1.2. That's going to get us around that 4.0 orifice range. Now these requesting 6.57, it's a little bit harder to kind of get those dialed in. So what I've been playing around on this particular one with is using 2 2.0 orifices and then a 3.0 for the other 2 there. So it kind of gets it in the realm. Now you can also size these appropriately, or try to get them as close to possible. If you use 4 of the 2s, of course, that's going to put you at an 8.0 orifice. So not as much pressure, but quite a bit of flow. For something like your undercarriage, you might actually want a little bit more pressure. So important to understand how these actually play into your orifice sizing. These are not as simple as just picking one specific one and going, this is going to work. Also should note, on both of these, a lot of the times they do not have easily accessible, purchasable different size tips on these. So I'll leave these 2 linked in the description. These you can dial in for this bad boy over here, dial in for this over here, as long, again, as you're using your amp meter and PSI meter. One last accessory here I would like to mention, and that is an extension wand. Now, there are plenty of different options out there. This is actually one that came with the new Active 2.0 starter kit bundle, and it's basically exactly the same one that you can purchase on their website, just with a brass quick disconnect up here. So again, would prefer to see this come with stainless steel on it. Brass is fine for the time being, then you could always upgrade it. Now there's a few different options out there. Macmillan's, you have this active one here. You can spend a stupid amount of money on like the Mosmatic ones. In general, they're really all the same. You're not getting any performance benefit. All you're paying is basically for the overall design and quality of materials. Now, again, you can get a fully stainless steel one for a fraction of the cost of like the Mosmatic stuff out there. I personally find the active one to be pretty darn nice with all this gray plastic, very easy to hold. It's gonna, of course, go directly into your gun, give you a 20-degree bent nozzle on this, so great for rinsing roofs, things like that. I'm not a huge wand fan, but I do think this is a great option for a pretty affordable price point, and absolutely love the grip on here. So I think that's about it for this video today. These are the main style accessories you'll need / want at kind of all different price points here. So hopefully I did a good job at showing you guys all of these different options for you, things that I recommend, don't really recommend, what I would upgrade first and not necessarily upgrade. So again, something like the Ryobi over here, great little unit, very affordable price point. I've done a dedicated video. You can get a great setup for sub 300 bucks, upgrading the hose, upgrading the foam cannon, getting quick disconnects on this. It's gonna be a great little unit over here. Whereas something like this, you might want to spend a little bit more money, different hoses, different accessories, like different tips like this, better foam cannons, So hopefully it was helpful to you guys. Anyways, we'll see you in the next one soon. All the products will be linked in the description below. Bye-bye.